It's time, ladies and gents, about to spit about some film reels. Copping the field to seal the deal of what the films reveal. Batman, Superman, even Spider-Man compare to fare against each other, tearing apart the plots that they prepare. But these are just a few examples for the task at hand. On demand with cinematic contraband to shock the fans. To preach the theme, title, film, eat film. Tis the keen regime for cinema guillotines to rock my rhyme kiln.
Greetings to you, the lucky finder of this movie debate podcast. In your wildest dreams, you cannot imagine that such things would happen to you. Each combatant enters with a specific movie topic, each choosing one film per topic. The debate commences once the judge decrees the topic is open. Each player will be judged on 5 different categories. The winner of Film Eat Film will be determined by the total number of points won. There are 3 points total. 2 films will enter, 1 film will leave. This is Film Eat Film. Welcome, everybody. What's going on, Movie Munchers?
Movie Munchers, eh?
We should have a pretty good show for you today. Once again, Scott Icebox Nemi is our fact checker. Welcome back, Scott.
Hello, Brother Maguire.
And our 2 combatants. We have Trace, the Tool Man Patchen.
Couch, actually. I'm
Trace
embracing
Couch
it.
Patchen.
I'm embracing it now. I'm embracing it, but hello.
Okay, all right. And to my right, we've got Taylor.
Ruffalo Wheeler.
I was going to say the Tool Man Wheeler.
Uh,
Anyone with a T is Tool Man, automatically.
Automatically.
How you guys feeling?
Great. Good.
Yeah?
Just got off work.
Taylor.
Yeah, I'm prepared.
Oh, sounds like it. So you guys know the rules. There's 5 different categories. The first thing you'll be graded on is understanding a topic. If you're debating a horror movie, why is it a horror movie? Simple as that. The second thing is organization and time management. You will each have 3.5 minutes to debate your movie, followed by a 2-minute rebuttal later on. How well are you using that time? You know, do you sound like you know what you're talking about, or are you just rambling? The Damon Gumbert approach. The third thing is argument, or topics, basically. And then the fourth thing is the evidence, examples, and statistics that back up those arguments. And finally, you will get graded on your rebuttal as well. We did have a coin flip prior to the show. Trace won and decided to go second. So, Taylor, Ruffalo Wheeler, you're going to have 3.5 minutes, and I believe your topic is Tom Cruise performances.
Yes, it is.
Awesome. Your topic is now open.
All right, so best Tom Cruise performances. I took the wonderful film Collateral with him, kind of a lesser-known film of him, but the reason it's one of his best performances is literally just kind of around him and Jamie Foxx as 2 main characters, mainly Tom Cruise as something different than what he normally does, which is a villain. And he really took it to heart. He's the guy who actually dyed his hair gray for this movie as well, because he wanted to be looking older for it. But he comes in essentially as like this full kind of assassin, badass character, more or less, but on the villain route for it. So he's just going through killing people, and he's actually, even though he's a shorter actor in that, he's actually very menacing and everything when he actually goes up with a gun, puts it in somebody's face, and you believe that he's actually Vincent, his character from the film. He's really just there doing everything he can to make himself look menacing, to be better than Jamie Foxx, which Jamie Foxx is another great character actor, but it's the 2 playing off of each other, and Tom Cruise does such a good job of playing off of Jamie Foxx's like fear and everything along those lines, and pushing more into it. And even in precise moments, you can tell and you can feel that Cruise did more training for the film because he's the assassin that, and you can see him when he takes shots, they're precise shots. Like, he's not just randomly shooting like you see a lot of times in the movie. Like, there's a point where he shoots at Jamie Foxx, and you can see it in like his arm movements and that. It's 3 shots, 2 to the chest, 1 to the head. He does that in the actual film. It doesn't hit because it's a mirror or something along those lines. I don't remember exactly, but it's something you can see with Tom Cruise, how he based his performance so precise to create this ridiculously precise, ridiculously well-rounded, essentially, villain in this area here. And he's also, during the film as well, he's just playing off of everything. There's a moment in there where he actually trips off of a chair, and there was a real-life trip, but he just kept going with it. He moved with it. He kept it flowing through. Didn't stop. It didn't make him stumble in his acting performance or anything along those lines. So he was actually just kept it going, even though it was a normal everyday thing that happens to everybody, and you don't lose any menacing character to him. So for me, one of the biggest things is why this is his best performance is because it's so focused on him that he doesn't get lost in the fray of a major cast or anything like that. And it's so well suited to see him do something different than his normal "I'm a hero, I'm best" thing ever, to where he's a villain and all that. So it's just him going out of the box, him being able to play his performance so well that's why Tom Cruise has his best performance of his career, personally feeling here, is this movie Collateral here with Jamie Foxx and him.
Awesome. We're just going to jump right into it. We've got Trace. You are good to go.
Okay, my movie is Magnolia. And if you want to talk about a Tom Cruise movie that is undermined and, taking a step away from the actual norm of what his movies are, it's this movie. You have a guy who usually plays, action stars or things of the sort. He's very physical with his work, and you get him and place him in a role like Frank T.J. Mackey in Magnolia, directed by P.T. Anderson, and you see how wonderful of an actor the guy actually is. He's the overall themes of this movie, following several different characters throughout their pursuits of happiness, forgiveness, and just the true meaning of what living is. Tom Cruise stole the show in this movie with just the little screen time he had, and gave the best performance to date. He was acknowledged by the Academy for his role. One of the few times that's happened. I think it's actually the last time it's happened for him. P.T. Anderson just gave him the best work to work for. You have Tom Cruise coming off of a movie, Eyes Wide Shut, directed by who? God damn it! Fact check me?
You want what?
Who directed Eyes Wide Shut?
Stanley Kubrick.
Stanley Kubrick. Thank you. So, isn't that what he's for?
He is our fact checker.
Yeah. Okay.
But usually after.
Okay. Anyways, so Stanley Kubrick, who is known for really making it hard to work with through a movie, he makes you endure through a movie, and Tom Cruise had to endure. Jumps onto this movie where P.T. Anderson wrote a specific role for him to be in the movie, where he's playing opposite of what he normally does. He's a sexist, really pushing masculinity into selling it. He's selling masculinity to other men, as this guy, and he's a horn dog womanizer. He's a sociopath, and he couldn't come off more of a douchebag. If you want to talk villain, this is a villainous role for Tom Cruise, and there's really no way for the first half of the movie that you can really sympathize with the guy. He just comes off as such a dick, and then finally you get that moment where he's sitting on his father's deathbed, cursing him out, telling him every emotion the guy's kept embedded into him all this time, where he's blanketing all these emotions with his manhood throughout the rest of the movie, and to try to push and push back everybody else around him, and he finally just breaks down, and it is literally one of the best moments Tom Cruise has ever given on screen, and you feel for him honestly throughout all the other things he's given to you in that movie, and in the first half of the movie. And the loss of his mother, how his father left him and made him go through that and go through his mother's sickness, and then that all happens when the frogs start raining down. And for those who haven't seen this movie, it's very, very out of left field, but the reaction to a scene like that for each individual character, I feel like brings out the meaning of the well-roundedness of these characters, especially TJ's.
And time is up. Gentlemen, how do you think you did on that first round there?
I can't pronounce the word masculinity, so...
Masculinity.
I just said
Thank
it.
you, Icebox. Icebox, anything you picked up on there that you want to go over?
Facts check out. Yes, Stanley Kubrick did direct Eyes Wide Shut. Sorry, I was writing something down. Taylor mentioned that Tom Cruise and Jamie Foxx were the top 2 characters in that. Third build was actually Jada Pinkett Smith. Tom Cruise did train with LA County Sheriffs for shooting. Cruise was nominated for Oscar 3 times. Magnolia, Jerry Maguire, Born on the 4th of July, won Golden Globe for each of those 3.
Mm-hmm.
Magnolia, 8.0 on IMDb. Collateral, 7.6. 84% for Magnolia on Rotten Tomatoes. And I do not have a Rotten Tomatoes score yet for Collateral. I'll check in right after.
Sounds good. Thank you,
Thanks.
Icebox. All right. Taylor, are you ready for your rebuttal?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Doesn't work.
86% for Collateral on Rotten Tomatoes.
Thank you, Scott. All right, Taylor, you have 2 minutes. Your time starts now.
Okay, so this is something where Cruise was built to stand out. It wasn't a cast where he had limited screen time. This is him, like a kind of Tom Hanks in Castaway, where he has to be the best that he can be. He can't just kind of perform and then stand above some lackluster characters. He had to be the number 1 character in this. I'm not saying that it was bad in Magnolia. What I'm saying is that Tom Cruise had to be at his best for this. He had to be the best villain. He had to be doing everything he could. And you say, like, villain-wise role in Magnolia, but this is straight villain here. This isn't something that you even sympathize with for a minute, because he's literally just an assassin who kills people, menacing as hell, all along the lines of those. He nominated for a Saturn Award for his performance in this. Yes, it didn't get nominated for Oscar or anything like that, but that's not a huge deal because many movies get overlooked every year for that. But beyond that, what Cruise brought to the table was just amazing with his training that he got, everything along those lines, directed by Michael Mann in this, the dude who did Heat, who knows how to get the best out of his actors, and he got the very best out of Tom Cruise for this, with the gun training, same with essentially everybody else in there. It was just so well done, and just how well he played his role, where he was forced to do his best. He didn't phone it in or anything like that, so it was just Tom Cruise at his best with this.
Trace, you have 2 minutes for your rebuttal.
Okay.
And your time starts now.
All right, you're talking about a movie with lackluster characters. This is literally every single actor in that movie gave it their A game. Like you have, and of all of them, Tom Cruise like shined through up to the point of watching this movie. I wasn't necessarily 100% behind Tom Cruise as an actor. Like an action star, absolutely. Give me Tom Cruise in Edge of Tomorrow. Give me Tom Cruise in Collateral. He's fantastic as an action star. But you want dimensions from a character? Somebody gives you a character as an actor? This is T.J. Mackey in Magnolia. In Collateral, you have yes, he's an interesting character, but he's very one-dimensional. He is a hitman, and that is what he does, and that is it. You don't get emotions like you do with a character who's literally struggling. He has this facade on the entire movie up until the point of he's on his father's deathbed, and he is screaming at a man who is literally dying at the top of his lungs, blaming him for everything. He's literally telling him to F off in that moment. Like, that just, I mean, out of anybody, that's going to rise emotions. And I mean, just the overall themes of that movie, P.T. Anderson himself told in interviews and stuff that this was the best work he's ever going to make. Obviously, he's made great work since, but I mean, this is one of the best things he's made. And just to get that kind of quality from Tom Cruise in such a short amount of time in a film, it's great acting. And it's great writing on top of that for somebody that for writing that was made specifically for the actor. I can't knock Collateral. I love the movie, but if we're going acting versus acting ability, Collateral's got. I mean, obviously, it's got the Oscar nominations behind it. It has the Golden Globe win behind it. So you have the credibility of the awards behind that specific role.
All right.
That was good. No, that wasn't bad.
Good first round, boys.
We weren't at each other's throats, or
No, I just want to say
It's pretty civil.
the next best actor in Magnolia is Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Oh,
All right, time to tally up these votes, gentlemen. All right, guys, this was tough. How do you think you did, Trace? Do you think you won?
I mean, I'm thinking it was a pretty close fight. I mean, we both had very solid points. We both stuck it out for our Tom Cruise flick. So,
Taylor, do you think you won?
I felt good about my initial argument. I felt like my rebuttal could have been better, but I feel good.
Well, I agree with both of you. The winner of the first round by 1 point is Trace. And here is why. I thought you guys both had a pretty good understanding of the topic. Taylor, I think you had better arguments, you had better examples. I really like how you talked about training for the film as an argument, and then you explained what he did to back it up. You talked about improv. You explained how he did that. You talked about his consistency, how he was outside the box. I think you did a good job on that. But what killed you is your time management. You know, you didn't get the full 3.5 minutes like Trace did, and I thought your rebuttal was a little bit weak. Trace, I thought your rebuttal was a little bit better. Not anything, special, but you did have pretty good time management. You both were pretty organized, but Taylor, I wish you would have just filled that up a little bit more. We want to see.
I know
some
it's just hard when
heat.
you like the movie. You know,
Well,
it's hard
put
to
it aside. We want to get some fights. We got
I know,
viewers
I know.
here. We got these people want a show. You know what I'm saying? Icebox, anything you want to add?
No.
No. Well,
no.
with that stern answer, we're gonna go right into the second round. And Trace, because you won second the first time, you are gonna get to go this time. And I believe your topic is Robert De Niro films or
Performance, correct.
Excuse me. All right, you have 3.5 minutes. You know the drill.
Do.
Your time starts now.
All right, I picked Taxi Driver, 1976, directed by Martin Scorsese and written by Paul Schrader. This film is, I mean, it's a classic. It was an instant classic. It is one of, I'm going to just throw off some numbers off the bat here. It is one of the greatest films of all time. It's number 52 on AFI's top 100 of all time. Number 17 of Empire's top 500. It was put into the National Registry of Films for preservation. The film was nominated for 4 Oscars. Unfortunately, it did get robbed for Robert De Niro's performance. But he did get nominated. This film really marked the ongoing success of the Scorsese Robert De Niro empire that was to come throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Honestly, out of all of them, this is one of the greatest. You get the best performance. In my opinion, this is De Niro's best performance. He has several great ones, but with Travis Bickle, he ingrains this film and his portrayal of the character into film society and society in general. I mean, people are still to this day using his catchphrase from the movie, "You talking to me?" And I mean, as a catchphrase, it really kind of grabs and gives you the understanding of his character in this movie. He is a guy he's a sociopath of all sociopaths, and who's going through a city he loves, but he wants to make it great. I mean, from the drug dealers to the politicians that are literally poisoning the city. His words, not mine. You get a character that is so torn but yet so really, afraid to interact with anybody. He tries interacting with, politicians and that female in the beginning of the movie, and it really fails. I mean, he's such a pulled away man from the structures of this society that he eventually isolates himself. He starts talking to himself, and he starts preparing to do something drastic, which in his eyes is a good thing to do. Whether it being trying to assassinate a politician or trying to save a little girl from a prostitution ring. This is a character that has so many waves and so many layers that it really just doesn't take one viewing to get it all in. You have to watch this movie a couple times. I mean, me personally, it took me a couple times to watch this movie to get all the emotions that De Niro is emitting in this movie. And like I said, you can't forget this. This is one of his first, major motion pictures up in a leading role. So he's giving his heart. He's giving you a performance of a character who's not necessarily a good guy. I mean, this is like almost the dawn of the anti-hero, of a character his morals aren't necessarily good. I mean, he was going to assassinate a politician, like literally was going to, and he turned around and in the end became the hero. I mean, not really what he was essentially trying to do. He was just trying to save a city. As a film, you have Scorsese just painting a beautiful depiction of New York City in the 70s, post-Vietnam War. It just really is a beautiful taking. And as De Niro in the driver's seat, as Travis Bickle, no pun intended, you get one of the greatest films of all time.
Taylor, You have 3.5 minutes to go over your film, and your time starts now.
Alright, so my film is actually a remake of an original Cape Fear, which mine is the new 1991 Cape Fear. I mean, new is definite term, but but no, this is one of Robert De Niro's best performances of all time, if not his best performance of all time. Being again, I'm picking a villain in this area here, but he is one of the most charming villains you will ever meet in an entire film. He literally charms it's terrible, but a 16-year-old, 15-year-old girl in a high school by being a teacher, but he's charming her. And the scene that he does that in is all ad-libbed by Robert De Niro. And Julia Lewis. But it's one of the best performances he ever gave, because he gives you such different levels, because there's points in the movie where you love him, where Travis Bickle, you understand he's an anti-hero pretty much from the beginning. With this, you don't think he's necessarily a terrible person at first, because you kind of start to like him. He makes you, with his charming ability, just makes you like him as a person. Then he sort of flips and he does stuff in between scenes and stuff like that De Niro actually suggested, like the biting scene where he's not killing the one girl but attacks the one girl, bites her. That was something that he suggested because he researched so many sexual predators to get in the role of Max Cady. And he just took this role and made it his own. If you're talking numbers and awards, 7.3 on IMDb, which is actually very excellent compared to a lot of films on there, considering thousands upon thousands of films. But also, he was nominated for both an Oscar and a Golden Globe for his performance as Max Cady, although he did get snubbed just as Travis Bickle did, because De Niro kept getting snubbed for whatever reason. But he just does such an excellent job, and he deserved those awards, even though he didn't get them, because he took a character that was already in place, played by, I believe it was Gregory Peck, and made it his own. He made it such a menacing, such a creepy, such a charismatic character, where Bickle is kind of this anti-hero guy. You love him, you hate him, you love him again, you hate him again, for Max Cady the entire time. And there's points in the movie where I'm actually hoping that he kills Nick Nolte. Nope.
Yeah.
Where you're actually hoping that he kills Nick Nolte and, like, takes his family and all of that, or whatever along those lines, just because he does such a good job in there. And his speech in there, his yelling at God speech, while Nick Nolte is sitting behind, has made it onto top 10s of such ridiculous lists. Cinefix being the main one that I've known it from, is his yelling at God, where he's just screaming at the top of his lungs, saying that he's essentially greater than God and all this, and he's going to more or less kill Nick Nolte. It's just considered so well done, and the way he delivers it is so amazing that it's made it onto top 10 lists like Cinefix and that. It's just, the performance all around is just so great, essentially, from him. And he even, like, there's a point where he gets under a vehicle. He had to have a stuntman do it first because he wanted to prove that it was actually able to be done. So that way it would be more realistic when he's under there, because he needed it to be realistic.
Alright, time is up. Pretty solid round, gentlemen. I think it went better than your first round.
Yeah,
So
I'm feeling good about it.
this pleases me.
This pleases.
And if anyone can tell me what that's from,
Got it.
it's from Heavyweights, which none of you are gonna know.
Yeah,
But anyways,
that's a good enough.
all right.
It's
Well,
a great movie, but
it
I
is a
just
great
don't
movie.
remember I don't remember most of the lines.
it's fine. Just got those, and that's what's important, right, Icebox?
That's right.
So he opens the gold one.
All right. Well, Trace, you get first dibs at the rebuttal.
Let's do it.
You get 2 minutes. Let's show some passion. Let's show some
I'm gonna show
aggression.
some fire.
Some Yankee aggression.
Let the tiger out of the cage, bro.
She's coming.
All right, she's coming. 2 minutes. Your time starts now.
All right, 7.1. Would you say 7 point whatever? I'll raise you that with an 8.3.
Get 'em.
As well
Get
as a
'em.
number 80 on IMDb's top 250 movies of all time. You can't. I mean, as good as his performance is in that movie, you can't hold a candle to the performance of Travis Bickle. He literally reinvented a character type of a film in this film, with an anti-hero being your main antagonist throughout the film. Protagonist. And he gave you a character that, yeah, you knew he had mixed emotions throughout the film, but he wasn't a bad guy. Like, he had layers to him. Where Max Cady, he comes off charming, but he's a bad guy. He's a psychopath. The whole movie, literally, I mean, he's biting the flesh off of women that are, he's just trying to be friends with him. He's just ruthless. And that's not necessarily always a positive. You want a character that gives you something to relate to, especially in that role. I mean, yeah, a villain is a villain, but you can give them more layers than just being charismatic. You can make them literally an anti-hero, or you can make them and show them from the inside out. You can get into their minds and see what they're doing instead of just giving you, face value villain. Which, I mean, is pretty much what you had there. I mean, it's a great performance by De Niro, because it's fucking De Niro, sorry. But you have somebody who like I said, who reinvented the role in his, second to third overall outing. That's just fantastic performance right there. That's something that your portrayal has not and will not ever do. And it's the reason why this is a role he's remembered by, and Max Cady is a role that he is forgotten by.
Whoa. Wow.
Pimp it ain't easy.
Taylor, anything you want to say to that? You've got 2 minutes. Go.
All right. I wouldn't say he's forgotten by this. This is one of his major roles of his entire career that people remember Max Cady for. Like I mentioned before in the initial argument, it goes on the top 10 list. For that, were no Travis Bickle speech I've ever seen on any top 10 list ever, because he doesn't have good speeches. He has one line in the movie that's memorable where he gives out speeches in Cape Fear like it's nothing, that are all completely memorable for all time. Even his end speech where he's yelling at the entire family while they're on the boat, yelling at them that he's better than them, that he can learn better than them, that he's all around better than them, is still memorable in my mind more than anything Travis Bickle said, aside from the "In the mirror, are you talking to me?" Which has been played upon thousands of times for no apparent reason, and is really just worn out at this point. Aside from that, this is a role that actually creeped out Martin Scorsese so much that Robert De Niro decided to call Martin Scorsese every night and talk to him in the Max Cady voice, which De Niro actually made himself for that role. So he actually creeped out his own director, the same director from your film, where Travis Bickle didn't creep him out. Travis Bickle did nothing for him.
Started his career.
Max Cady actually creeped out Scorsese to a point. That's how well De Niro's accent, De Niro's just playing Max Cady went, is when you can make your director creep by you. But that's not the only thing, is you actually feel for this guy who just got out of jail and is actually seeing the same lawyer that put him into jail wrongly, essentially. And you can feel for this character. It's not just a straightforward guy. Like, hey, he got wronged. Now he's slowly messing with his character. You don't know that he's a terrible person right away. And you just kind of play with him. You see what he can bring to the table along those lines. It's him giving you more than just straight anti-hero. It's him flipping that line, making you like him more. Travis Bickle, like I said before, it's one straight line. Max Cady is essentially a squiggle line that you have to follow along the path. You may not be always in his mind, which is actually a good thing for that, because you probably don't want to be in there.
And time's up. Before I go to the tallies, I'm going to check in with Scout Icebox Nemi. Scott, what you got for us?
Great round, Ben. Actually, I have a couple of actual cleanups for once.
Wow.
Sybil Shepherd played the role of Betsy. She was not a politician. She was a campaign manager.
Okay.
And Robert Mitchum played Max Cady in the 1962 version.
Yeah, okay.
Gregory Peck played the father.
Oh.
Oh, and also a nitpick. Not that I think that this is any big deal.
Of course.
But it's actually Martin Scorsese, not Scorsese. Per Martin Scorsese.
Well, give me a second to get these tallied up here. All right, guys. Round 2. It's in the books.
It's in the books.
Taylor, I'm going to ask you first. How do you think you did?
I definitely felt better about that one than I did about the Cruise one, actually.
Who's got it?
It's hard to say.
Who's got it?
It's hard to say. Personally, I'm of course
Gonna
gonna
say
side
me.
with
He's
mine.
gonna say me.
No, I'm gonna side with mine and
Trace?
side with Max Cady.
What?
Who's got it?
I got it.
You got it.
Oh yeah, I got it. No. I mean, this was another close one. Honestly, I felt strong coming out of the opening, and he just gave a solid rebuttal. I can't knock him from that.
Well, I gotta say, this was harder to grade than the first round. I think you guys definitely improved, and it was another 1-point victory.
Bah.
The winner of the second round is Taylor. And this is why.
Give me a goddamn break.
There were a few reasons why, but honestly, the main one comes down to this.
We want an exciting third round. Okay,
we-
I got it.
Here's the thing: we're debating best performance, not movie. You can definitely argue Taxi Driver is a better movie. I'm not gonna say that, but I think Taylor gave, and because I'm the judge, I can say this. I think Taylor gave better examples. By that I mean, besides the speeches, he's got the speeches. He told us about an entire scene that he ad-libbed. He told us how he would scare his own director. He remade Cape Fear through his own performance, which, in my opinion, makes everyone forget about the first one. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
and,
I agree.
And I think that because of those reasons, Taylor, in my opinion, gave better examples of why his Robert De Niro performance was better than Taxi Driver. It's not necessarily about the movie. So the amount of Oscars and the amount of all that stuff, essentially in this particular case, doesn't play a huge role like it normally would. But that is my reasoning. Deal with it, Taylor. Congratulations. But now we have a 1-1 match, and we are entering the third round. And as we know, listeners, the third round is my favorite because I picked it. And the third round topic today is going to be Edward Norton films. I hope you guys prepared.
Now, question,
Trace.
as separate from the other two, those were performances. Now, this one is the film itself, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
This is Edward Norton film. All right, not necessarily just performances.
All right.
Anyways, Taylor, you actually have honors to start first. You have 3.5 minutes. Your time starts now.
Okay, so in this best Edward Norton films, I actually picked kind of a lesser known film by him and one that gets overlooked a lot because it's in the horror category. So, I mean, of course, the word chosen that are going to overlook it because nobody likes horror films. Except this is...
He doesn't.
Except this is an amazing one in the film Red Dragon, the prequel to The Silence of the Lambs that gives you essentially backstory on Hannibal Lecter, backstory on why he's in jail, which is due to the amazing performance out of Ed Norton as the detective in it who actually captures and puts Hannibal Lecter in jail. So you get to learn why this ridiculously smart person's in jail. It's because of Ed Norton, who actually got him there as the detective who caught him by allowing Anthony Hopkins, who's Hannibal Lecter, in there to more or less kill him so that he could kill the other one, but they both ended up alive. But Ed Norton as Will Graham does an amazing performance in there, along with the amazing cast that they actually had for this entire film, which is rounded out by Sir Anthony Hopkins as Dr. Hannibal Lecter, his last performance as Hannibal Lecter. Ray Rolf Finesse, I'm not entirely sure how to... Ray Fine. His name is weird, but he gives, like always, he gives such an amazing performance as Francis Dollarhide, who is the kind of main villain of this because Hannibal Lecter's in jail, so he's not technically the villain. But he's just crazy. He gives this great performance with this huge back tattoo on him and just so well done, along with adding on to that Harvey Keitel, Emily Watson, Mary Louise Parker, and of course the always amazing Philip Seymour Hoffman, who actually Anthony Hopkins came in on his days off to watch Philip Seymour Hoffman actually act in the film because he hadn't seen Hoffman actually purely act before, so Hopkins actually did that based on this film. But altogether, this is actually considered one of the better horror films. It's supremely underlooked. It has been nominated for various awards and on various horror films, such as like a Watch Mojo and stuff like that, and other various top 10s. And that Red Dragon actually kind of slides into there, even though it's a lesser known one. It slides onto people's top 10s because it's so well done. You get to follow the performance of Ed Norton, being inside of his head, following Ray Fine, following Anthony Hopkins. And overall, Ed Norton plays a better detective as Detective Will Graham than what Jodie Foster does in Silence of the Lambs. I understand people love Jodie Foster in there, but she's really bland to me. So Ed Norton just rounds it out as this character that you like, going against a character that you like and hate with Hannibal Lecter, going against another character that you hate because he's just purely insane with Ray Finesse. Ray Fiennes, whatever his name.
You just change it every time we say it.
But it's so well done with all these performances coming together to essentially recreate the movie that started the Hannibal Lecter franchise, which is, the original one was Manhunter, which is they kind of based Red Dragon onto. But they do it so well that you forget that Manhunter even exists as part of the Silence of the Lambs series. And it does a much better job of actually taking over where people were disappointed in Hannibal loved Red Dragon.
All right, with that, we're going to stop the time here. Good round. I do want to throw a quick comment. Does anyone else think that Jodie Foster did better than Julianne Moore?
Oh, hands down. I mean, I'm not a big Jodie Foster fan by any means.
Me either, but I
she
can't
did
stand.
absolutely do better than Julianne Moore.
Yeah, I just can't stand Julianne Moore.
Tell me, Dr. Lecter, why'd you kill those people?
Could have saw Icebox face on that one. It was pretty
too bad
magical.
We can't somehow incorporate that. Anyways,
All right.
Trace, 3.5 minutes to discuss your movie debates, and your time starts now.
All right. As a whole, I picked the best, hands down, Edward Norton film out there, and that is American History X, 1998 film by Tony Kai. In this film, Edward Norton is playing a neo-Nazi skinhead named Derek Vinyard, and he gives so many. I mean, as an actor, gives so many layers to this movie, and there's so many layers in the film as a whole. I mean, the movie dives in headfirst into the cold world of racism, of decisions, of impact and influence on your society and your loved ones, as Derek goes through the motions of getting literally put in prison for a racial crime, and he turns himself around in the movie by an African American man who turns him around and shows him that his ways are wrong and flawed, and he only has so much time to go back and save his little brother from this lifestyle that he threw him in. And Tony's film portrays the aspects of this just beautifully. You get flashback scenes that are shot in black and gray that tell you and paint this different image. You're getting two sides of a character in Derek, post prison and pre prison. And the use of black and gray in those flashback scenes is absolutely perfect for the film. But yeah, you follow a man who spits nothing but hate during the early parts of the film and the early moments of his life, and he's just volatile. He is ready. He's pretty much a time bomb, ready to explode. And that culminates into that scene where he's about to literally curb stomp this man, and he turns around, and you see this this image on this smirk on his face with this hate behind it. And I just think it's one of the best moments of the film, and just the way that the whole film overall comes around in the end. I won't spoil anything. I mean, if people haven't seen this movie, it's over 20 years old, so or close to 20 years old, so but nonetheless, it comes full circle with almost karma, as to Too Little Too Late kind of story. It's very heartbreaking, but it's a very I feel accurate portrayal of society then, and it can portray till now too. And speaking of a film, this film it got Norton his second Oscar nomination, and Norton actually turned down Saving Private Ryan to star in this movie. So that says volumes, to turn down a Steven Spielberg film for a film from a director who was on his first film, essentially an independent film, a film that was made only on $20 million. So it just really tells you about hate, segregation, unity under a white only front, and then it pulls that away from you and tells you that you can change no matter how evil you've been and how different you've been, and there's not whole lot of cast playing behind him. I mean, this is a big Edward Norton show. You have his brother in there, so I mean, it really is just a beautifully well-rounded story.
All right, time is up. Pretty good arguments from both of you.
Thank you.
I will admit. You guys know the drill. Taylor, 2 minutes, rebuttal, go.
Okay, you are right about something about your film, which is it's an Ed Norton show because the cast behind him was completely lackluster, where my cast was amazing between all of them. Edward Furlong gave a terrible performance in there because Edward Furlong is a terrible actor, essentially. He was bad in there, and that's one of the reasons that I don't like this movie as much as other people do. Yes, Edward Norton does amazing, but Furlong really drags the film down, along with most of the other people in there, aside from a couple things like Ethan Suplee and people along those lines, which very kind of where in Red Dragon you have Ray Fiennes, you have Anthony Hopkins, you have Ed Norton, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Emily Watson, all giving amazing performances, all doing so well where there's no spot in there where you're like, he's kind of crappy. You have performances in there where it's like, wow, you're good, you're really good. You don't get to have a lackluster moment because of how well they do. And yes, you have awards because it's essentially an Oscar bait movie. You're playing a neo-Nazi. I have a non-Oscar bait movie with horror films because the Oscars completely overlook those at every turn. So no matter what, you may have gotten nominated for an Oscars because it's just an Ed Norton show. Mine is a complete film done so well that you forget about Manhunter, Hannibal, and you just, essentially, it's Red Dragon, Silence of the Lambs. There's no other films in that series is what you come to realize in that. And because of Ed Norton just being so charismatic and kind of an asshole at the same time, you enjoy him in there and all of those along the lines, and you just follow the roller coaster ride of these characters in this film where you're only following Norton, you're following a group of characters that you kind of love, hate, everything along those lines, and you really feel for them.
Stop the time there.
You want me breathing fire, don't you?
Trace the Dragon Pageant, you got 2 minutes.
Yep.
Go.
All right, you like to throw down the cast thing because it's the only thing you have going for you here. Edward Furlong does what he has to do in the movie. Yes, he can be irritating at times, but he still forwards the narrative of the movie and gives you something to root for as Edward Norton's trying to change his brother's lifestyle. I mean, it's totally believable whether you like it or not. Everybody else can argue that because the film is done way better than Red Dragon. You talk about other cast members. There was also Beverly D'Angelo in that film who did actually very well compared to previous films that she was in, like Vacation. From Vacation to this movie, it's a very good change of pace. And like I said, cast is the only thing you can argue. It's all undermined by your whole movie is undermined by a superior movie in Silence of the Lambs. I mean, it's just there, and the writing's there. You talk about my movie being Oscar bait and how horror movies don't get talked or appreciated. Silence of the Lambs swept the Oscars, 5 Oscar wins.
Boom.
It literally swept it. So, and this is a film that was in the same trilogy of your films. It was written by the same guy, but it is it's undermined by the shadow that Silence of the Lambs has given, and the introduction of Hannibal Lecter and Sir Anthony Hopkins. It's hard to argue here because really the only thing going for your movie is its great cast. I mean, it's a good movie overall, but it is nothing in comparison to the what American History X gives its audience in a narrative sense, in an acting performance from Edward Norton, and in a directorial effort. I mean, come on, Brett Ratner. What is the only thing good he's ever done? This movie. That's right.
Rush Hour.
Well, that's another argument for another day.
Bitch.
But yeah,
2 minutes. Time's up.
All right, yeah. Nonetheless,
Solid rebuttal. Guys, that was good. Icebox.
Yeah, Trace had mentioned that American History X is the best movie featuring Edward Norton. IMDb ranks Fight Club higher, number 10 versus number 31 for American History X. It is pronounced Rafe Fiennes. I'm not picking on you, Taylor.
Ray Finkel.
Actually, Beverly D'Angelo had a Satellite Award nomination
For this film?
for the role in American History X.
Told you. Satellite
Edward
boy.
Furlong was nominated for a Young Artists Award, Best Performance in a Feature Film Supporting Young Actor. However, he's only had 3 wins and only 5 nominations in his entire career, so...
Brutal.
Well, I mean, where did he go after this movie, honestly?
The Crow 5.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, gentlemen, round 3 tallied in the books. Switch it up, Trace.
Yeah,
Think you got this round?
I feel pretty comfortable. I hit him with that side swipe of the Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah,
hit.
that was brutal, man.
I got him hard there.
How do you feel?
I feel pretty good because I was actually arguing a movie that wasn't the easiest one to argue in the world.
Hey.
True. And your winner of the second episode of Film, Eat Film, is Trace.
Yeah! Sing it.
Basically, it came down to this. Trace, your rebuttal was a lot more solid. I think for once, one of you attacked the other movie. I felt like you guys both had a pretty good understanding of the movie, but the reason Trace wins is because, honestly, Taylor, you did spend a lot of time talking about the cast, which you cannot discredit. I mean, how many horror movies Harvey Keitel been in? I mean, Anthony Hopkins, Philip Seymour Hoffman. You can't go wrong.
Oh.
The cast is amazing. But unfortunately, you spent a lot of time on the cast. Trace at least did talk about like the underlining message of American History X. He talked about even simple things like editing, like the black and white for flashbacks. And I just think Trace did a little bit better of a job going over it. However, I feel like you did make some good points. It was fairly close. Trace won by 2 points.
Next time I'll pick an easier movie to argue.
Oh, hey, all right. I'll joke
Yeah,
aside.
Taylor's just sharpening his tools, man.
All joking aside, Brett Ratner. No, I'm kidding. But it's hard to knock on Red Dragon. It is a really good movie. I do like it better than Silence of the Lambs. So,
So we're just
Are
gonna
you
go.
serious?
it's Jodie Foster. I'm not a fan of hers.
Silence of the Lambs is like,
Dude, I
Yeah.
love Science of the
Yeah,
Lambs.
that's my
I'm not
favorite
saying it's a
thriller by
bad
far.
movie.
this concludes our second episode of Film Eat Film. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff. Feel free to comment below on this video. Give us some ideas. What do you want to see? Are there any topics you want us to go over? Either way, feel free to share this with your friends and talk with us. We're friendly. Icebox, any closing words?
Like, subscribe, comment.
Anyways, Movie Munchers, until next time!
Good night.